Yes, I didn't see him. What are you looking so sad about, Jeff?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talking. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I bombed a bomber of my door.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
When you built the door.
What's happening, my people? It's Cass Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Miss Cass, Trump, salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, a look at boxing over the past 30 years. A look at boxing over the past 30 years today. And has the family today. We're back with another episode of this boxing history. Still early in the week. Just getting started, basically. Yeah, today we're going to look at some changes in boxing just over the past 30 years. And we're going to look at the reasons for these changes, and we're going to look at some of the top boxers that competed during this period, and we're going to look at some what ifs, like what if certain things would have happened during this time. Like, for instance, what if Floyd and Manny had fought in 2010 instead of 2015? Would it have been a difference in the results? Would the fight have been different? All that today on Cast Sports, the Box Story, bringing you all that boxing history. Okay? But first, as always, we're going to look at our fight of the day. We dig into the archives every day and come up with a classic fight. So let's get started. So now, without further ado, today's okay. The fight of the day today is Arturo Gatti versus Yvonne Robinson, 1. Gatti versus Robinson, 1. This fight took place on August 22nd, 1998. Gatti versus Robinson, 1. August 22nd, 1998. Okay. So let's get going with today's fight of the day. Mike Grimm in the building. Salute, Mike. How are you today? Arturo Gatti, Arturo Thunder Gatti versus Yvonne Robinson. The first fight between these two. Okay. People are a product of their environment. Where and how you grow up shapes what you become. The same is true for boxers and how they box. Cuban pugilists emphasize fundamentals with sharp counterpunching and precise footwork. Think of a master technician like Guillermo Rigondeaux. Conversely, Mexican fighters are known for their aggression and suffocating pressure. We might look to Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. as a prime example. He was the ultimate pressure fighter, breaking his opponents down with his relentless attack. And there's a shot of Yvonne Robinson right there. A true Philly fighter, Yvonne was. BN Boxing News in the building. Salute BN Boxing News. Anybody listening, please subscribe to BN Boxing News. He also has a great channel over there, these YouTube streets. Salute BN Boxing News. Fight of the day today, Arturo Gatti versus Yvonne Robinson, 1. Okay, let's continue. That's a shot of Yvonne Robinson right there. Boxers from Philadelphia are also known to have a unique style, a hybrid of the scientific and the ferocious. While they possess undeniable skills, including the hand speed and footwork to stage masterful boxing clinics, they also pride themselves on their fighting spirit, their willingness to exchange heavy shots to prove their toughness. When it comes to the quintessential Philly fighter, one need look no further than Meldrick Taylor, who gave a prime Chavez one of his toughest battles who also gave his own take on what defines a boxer from the city of brotherly love. A Philadelphia fighter, said Taylor, is basically one with a lot of heart, a lot of desire, and who comes to fight every minute of every round. Yvonne Mighty Robinson, who grew up just a few blocks from Taylor's home as Philadelphia, Robinson grew up a few blocks away from Taylor's home in Philadelphia, fulfills that definition as well as anyone. After a solid amateur career, he worked his way up the lightweight ranks, earning a title shot against IBF champion Philip Holliday in South Africa. He dropped a 12-round decision and then suffered a stunning upset to unheralded Israel Cardona. But after those back-to-back defeats, Robinson regrouped and put together enough wins to earn a chance against Sugar Shane Mosley before Shane suffered a cut in training, thus derailing that big-time opportunity. But Yvonne's loss was boxing's gain, a blessing in disguise for Robinson and fight fans, because the end result was that instead of Mosley versus Robinson, we got Gatti versus Robinson, a battle for the ages. Okay. There they are. Well, that's Gatti and Patterson. That was when Gatti won his first world title in 1995. The Drunk Irishman in the building. Salute, Drunk Irishman. How are you today, my friend? Another great channel. Everybody, please subscribe to the Drunk Irishman. And any channel, always open welcome to put your link in the chat anytime you want to. Open invitation on Castboard. You can always drop your link in there. Anybody with a channel, okay? Because only great channels come in here. But salute, Drunk Irishman. Fight of the day is Arturo Gatti versus Yvonne Robinson 1. Okay. So by the point of this fight, Arturo Thunder Gatti's name was already engraved in boxing lore. His boxing skills were on display when he outpointed Tracy Harris Patterson to win a junior lightweight title. But he also demonstrated his grit and warrior spirit on multiple occasions, taking tremendous punishment before coming back to score brutal stoppages of Wilson Rodriguez and Gabriel Ruelas. Having abandoned his world title to campaign as a lightweight, Gatti, who hailed from Montreal, was nonetheless, in terms of his heart and will to win, a Philly fighter. Thus, serious boxing people knew that a Gatti versus Robinson showdown at the Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City meant fisted fireworks, a forecast proving correct moments after the opening bell. From the outset, Gatti and Robinson battled at a furious pace. In the first round, Robinson demonstrated his impressive hand speed as he pumped out sharp jabs and rapid-fire combinations, effectively alternating his boxing and fighting tactics. He kept Gatti guessing as to what was coming next. Arturo landed a few good left hooks, but Robinson took them well, retaliating with flurries. With 30 seconds remaining in the first round, both fighters ratcheted up the intensity and traded at a frenetic pace. Robinson got the better of it, outlanding Gatti with a variety of hooks, uppercuts, and crosses. And at the bell, he pumped his fist in celebration, knowing he had won the opening round. Okay, now there is Robinson and Gatti. in their battle right there. BBO Sports TV in the building from the Sports Talk Network, Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Salute BBO. How are you today? Fight of the day, Arturo Thunder Gatti versus Yvonne Robinson. I forgot Robinson's nickname already. I just said it, but yeah. Gatti versus Robinson. Okay, so Robinson took the first round. But in the second, Robinson's willingness to trade cost him, as Thunder, who appeared to be the stronger fighter, landed several hard hooks. Near the end of the round, Robinson turned Gatti and connected with a hard uppercut that snapped the Montrealer's head back. But it was Arturo who had more success in this round. His punch is heavier and more damaging. That didn't go unnoticed by Robinson's corner, and between rounds, his trainer admonished him for standing in front of his opponent and not using his jab more. In the second half of round 3, the two continued to trade power punches, with Robinson again doing the better work. He used exquisite footwork to pivot around Gatti and land shots from all angles. Outgunned the former champion Gatti resulted in covering up and waiting for Robinson to stop punching. But Yvonne wasn't slowing down, and he peppered Gatti at every opportunity. If you want to cultivate fight fans anywhere, declared commentator Dave Bontempo, shows him Gatti fights, as an opponent usually steps up to make it exciting. As round 3 came to a close, it was clear to all that Yvonne Robinson had indeed stepped up. Yeah, Gatti had a way of making you come in there and battle. When you were in there with Thunder, you know. The Philly native maintained his momentum in the fourth round until Gatti threw an overhand right, which landed behind the ear and sent Robinson to the canvas. The man from Philly beat the count and appeared unhurt, but Gatti pursued aggressively, throwing a plethora of hard power shots, and Robinson, wanting to prove the knockdown hadn't affected him, obliged Arturo and went toe-to-toe, matching his opponent's intensity and output until the end of the round. Gatti versus Robinson was now officially a legit hardcore slugfest and a fight of the year contender. And it did go on to win fight of the year too. The middle rounds saw no let-up in the action and viciousness at close quarters. In round 6, Robinson visibly stunned Gatti for the first time in the fight with a hook, and then poured it on with more hard shots, forcing Gatti to clinch. But a hurt Gatti is a dangerous Gatti, and soon enough, he retaliated with a hard right that wobbled Robinson and sent him stumbling about the ring. Thunder pushed forward, doing hooks with both hands and looking to end the fight, but Robinson refused to fold and fired back. Both warriors went at it until the bell sounded, concluding the best round of the fight thus far, a round that epitomized what everyone loved about Arturo Gatti. He was tagged and hurt, but he summoned energy from the depths of his soul, miraculously coming alive to land a huge shot and reverse the momentum. Yeah, a hurt Gatti was a dangerous Gatti. But with heavy swelling around his left eye, Gaddy was having ever more trouble avoiding Robinson's flurries. With a minute to go in round 9, Robinson unleashed a series of hard hooks that swiveled Gaddy's head around its axis and rocked him. When Gaddy tried to counterattack and land another fight-altering punch, Robinson used his slick upper body movement and footwork to avoid almost every shot. It had already been a thrilling back-and-forth slugfest, but the final round of Gaddy vs. Robinson offered even more excitement, with both men slinging heavy leather. His confidence high, Robinson put together sharp flurries on the inside before Gaddy got home a left hook to the forehead that wobbled Robinson and caused his upper torso to lean back like the Tower of Pisa. Desperate to land the big shot that could save the fight, Gaddy pursued, and with just 10 seconds remaining in the fight, he connected with another left hook that caused Robinson to stagger awkwardly, his legs bending as if they suddenly forgot how to move. Thunder poured it on until the bell, and then raised his arms in celebration, no doubt thinking he had done enough to edge a close points verdict. But the judges disagreed with him, awarding the man from Philly with a split decision victory and the biggest win of his career thus far. But what a fight. Yeah, the judges gave it to Robinson. Robinson discussed the importance of this impressive upset victory in a 2015 Boxing News interview. He said, "The Gaddy fights were the highlights of my career. That was me at my peak. I never knew it at the time, but the Gaddy fights were me at my absolute best. I wanted to show I belonged in the mix with anybody, that the name Yvonne Robinson should be mentioned against any fighter. The Gaddy fights put me where I was a boxer, but I did what I had to do to win. And what he had to do was slug it out with a battle-tested warrior who possessed one of the biggest hearts boxing has ever seen. Robinson absorbed heavy shots throughout, was hurt on several occasions, but managed to survive and still execute his game plan. Not many fighters can say they went toe-to-toe with Arturo Gaddy and won. And for a fighter from Philly, a city whose pugilists pride themselves on their heart, there isn't a more respectable achievement." And there you have it, the fight of the day, won by Yvonne Robinson. Okay, let's see what Robinson's nickname was. Okay. It's up here somewhere. We're going to find it, and then we're going to go with a look at boxing over the past 30 years. Y'all know me, I got to find out. When I go searching for something, I got to find it. We trying to find Robinson's nickname. Anybody remember what it was? He was supposed to fight Shane Mosley, but Shane got hurt. Oh, Mighty. Yvonne Mighty Robinson. Good. Okay, now we can move on. I don't know why I always do that. But yeah, we're going to talk about a look at boxing over the past 30 years today. And we're going to look at some of the top fighters from that period and some what ifs. Like, for example, what if Floyd and Manny had fought in 2010? Or what if Buster Douglas had been counted out in that round when Mike Tyson had dropped him? Or what if Mike Tyson and George Foreman had fought, right? Or what if history had treated Triple G better? Yeah, we got a couple of them, 10 what ifs. But first, we're going to look at a little few of the changes over the past 30 years, okay? In one moment. Okay. Ow. Man. Okay. Yeah, I'm still gonna invent those steel-toed beer bum slippers because every time I go past that chair over there, I bump my toe on it. Steel-toed beer bum slippers. That would be quite an invention. Okay. Look at boxing over the past 30 years. Okay, there's 3 of the stars. Couldn't get all of them. From left to right, Manny, Floyd, and Oscar. And Trump had mentioned Usyk and Bud. I got them in here. Yeah, Usyk and Bud are included. We're going to talk about those two too. Those two also because they are stars over the past 30 years. 2 of the current stars in the sport. Bud Crawford and Alexander Usyk. Okay, look at boxing over the past 30 years. Oh, that's Tim Tszyu. Okay. Now, over the last 30 years, boxing has seen a decline in popularity due to increased competition from other sports like MMA, a lack of mainstream media coverage, and the absence of a dominant American heavyweight champion. Now, safety regulations have also improved, with the WBC leading the way in reducing title fights from 15 to 12 rounds, following a 1982 tragedy. Yeah, the tragedy happened in 82, but didn't officially go to drop from 15 rounds till a few years later. The sport has also faced issues with match fixing, though these were particularly prominent in the early 1990s, and its status in international competition like the Olympics has been questioned due to governance issues with the IBA, International Boxing Association. Yeah, the IOC had to replace them. We're going to get to that in a minute too. Okay? So, let's look at some of the specific changes. Safety and regulation. Now, reduced rounds. Following the 1982 death of boxer Duke Koop Kemp, the WBC led the way, and then the other sanctioning organizations dropped the standard length of title fights from 15 to 12 rounds. Okay, then we have the governance concerns. The International Boxing Association, the official governing body for amateur boxing, has faced scrutiny over its governance, leading to boxing's removal from the initial LA 28 Olympics sports program. But it is going to be in because the IOC had dropped the IBA because they had some problem with their governance of the sport in the amateur boxing. But then we had this other, and boxing was not going to be in the Olympics for 28. It's going to be in LA, but then they got this other governing body called World Boxing that stepped in, and they're going to govern boxing for the Olympics, govern amateur boxing. So it is going to be in the Olympics in 2028, saved by World Boxing. And I think Triple G is some kind of high-ranking official in that organization called World Boxing, okay? So that's popularity and media. Now, increased competition. The rise of other sports, particularly mixed martial arts in the UFC, has contributed to boxing's decline in popularity, especially among younger demographics. Okay, especially among the younger demographics. Less media coverage. The boxing has received less coverage on major television networks and in newspapers, further impacting its mainstream visibility. Because back in the day, you would see fights, Muhammad Ali and people on Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran on regular network television on a weekly basis, the biggest names in the sport. Now, boxing is not even a part of regular network television. The only time ESPN mentions it is when there's a big super fight like a Canelo Bud or something like that. So yeah. And newspapers, I don't even think boxing is even part of newspaper coverage anymore. So yeah, media coverage is really down. and affected the popularity of boxing nowadays. In absence of a dominant champion, a lack of a standout American heavyweight champion has also been cited as a factor in the sport's declining interest. Yeah, we have had one, I think almost like 20 years since Evander Holyfield, one American heavyweight champion, Deontay Wilder, since Evander Holyfield back in the early to middle 2000s. That's the last American heavyweight champion we've had, and that's really a factor in the declining interest of the sport. We had Wilder, but that's been the last since he got beat by Fury. Haven't had another American heavyweight champion. Now, what's that guy named Edwards? I think the future is kind of bright with him, but he's a few years away. We thought it was going to be Big Baby Anderson, but he's not going to be the savior for American heavyweights. And integrity, match fixing. Now, while major incidents of match fixing were more prominent in the past, they were a significant issue in the early 1990s, with accusations of fixed fights occurring in boxing promotions during that time. Okay? So now let's look at some of the top fighters of the past 30 years. Okay? Let's look at some of the top fighters that performed during the past 30 years now. Okay? Let's take a look at that. Starting, I believe, Tim Tszyu is first. I think. The man from down under. Kostya Tszyu. Not Tim Tszyu. Kostya Tszyu. The daddy. What's up, Arnie Boxing? We're taking a look at boxing over the past 30 years, Arnie. And we just looked at some of the changes and the reasons for. Now we're gonna look at some of the top boxers over that time frame, from like the middle 90s up to now. Starting with Kostya Tszyu, Tim's father, Kostya. Okay, that is Kostya. That could be Tim. But yeah, that's Kostya. Now, Kostya enters his career with 31 wins, just 2 losses, 25 knockouts, 80.6% knockout ratio. A fearsome puncher, Kostya Tszyu stood as the 140-pound kingpin for many years in the 1990s and 2000s. He won a junior welterweight belt in his 14th pro fight, and of course 2 separate reigns, made 14 title defenses. A Russian who became an Australian citizen, Tszyu bludgeoned Zab Judah in 2001 to become a 3-belt champion. He also beat a faded Julio Cesar Chavez a year prior, before the Zab Tszyu fight. Both Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Shane Mosley came through the 140-pound ranks during Tszyu's run. Fights did not materialize. Neither one, Floyd or Sugar Shane Fort Carson. Now, Tszyu did not let his skills deteriorate much, retiring after a 2005 loss to Ricky Hatton. Kostya Tszyu. Kostya Tszyu. Okay, we're just looking at some of the top fighters for over the past 30 years. Winky, the Winkster. Winky Wright. Winky Wright. Oh yeah, everybody subscribe to Define Arnie 1-2. Great, started his podcast. I think he like 20-something shows in. Comes on like 9, 10 at night. And yeah, anybody, like I said, anybody with the channel, feel free to drop your link in there so people can go straight to you. But yeah, Define Arnie 1, great channel. Just getting off the ground, but already doing great work over there. Had a 12,000 view show Saturday. 12,000. Yes. Boxiani. Okay. Next is Winky Wright. Okay. Winky finished his career with 51 wins, 6 losses with 1 draw, and 25 knockouts for the Winkster. Yeah, Winky had that reach, man. Winky, look at that arm span. He could put in the high guard, most fighters in the high guard, their opponent would go to the body, try to bring their arms down. Or if a fighter covered up the body, they try to go to the head, bring their arms up so they can get to the body. Winky in his high guard had the head and body covered. You had nowhere to punch, right? In his high guard, he had his head all the way down to his stump waist covered. Look at that, man. Had an incredible reach. Now, one of the premier defensive fighters in modern boxing, Winky Wright used that tactical prowess to dominate the junior middleweight division for many years between the late 1990s and mid-2000s. A late bloomer, Wright furthered Shane Mosley's mid-career swoon by beating him twice in 2004 and exiting the division on top. Okay, yeah, he vacated from that division. I believe it was junior middleweight, right? Exited on top. He then routed the rapidly fading Phyllis Trinidad en route to a middleweight title fight. He probably deserved to win, which was a 2006 draw with Jermaine Taylor. He retired as one of the all-time greats in the 154-pound division. Yeah, I thought he won that fight against Jermaine Taylor too, but they called it a draw. That's who counts. The judges. The Prince Naseem Hamed. There he is on his flying carpet, coming to the ring. 36 wins, just 1 loss, 31 knockouts. 86.1% knockout ratio. Yeah, Juan Manuel Barrera gave him a beat down. The Prince did fight one more time after that, but then he got up out of Dodge after that. Now, taking Muhammad Ali's showman antics to an all other level, the Prince was one of the most unique superstars of the 1990s. While his flashy entrances and in-ring agility generated publicity, Hamed could crack too. Told you, 86.1% knockout ratio. He could crack. He was punching like that. Blessed with uncanny knockout power, Hamed held a featherweight belt for 6 years and defended it 15 times, okay? Third most at 126 pounds in history. 15 times. Third most in the division's history. Featherweight. Some analysts referred to Hamed's American debut against Kevin Kelly in 1997 as a featherweight version of Hagler Hearns. Now, though he was done by age 28, the Brit left an original imprint on the boxing timeline. The Prince, Naseem Hamed, okay? Yeah, his first fight in the United States was like the Beatles coming over here. The press was at the airport waiting for him. That's how big the Prince was back in those days. It's like they called the Beatles the British invasion. The Prince was the second British invasion. Next is the great Miguel Cotto. 41 wins, 6 losses, 33 knockouts, 80.4% knockout ratio for Cotto. Miguel. The only Puerto Rican 4-division champion. Cotto was a beloved figure in boxing for many years. Cotto's career is defined more by losses against a vicious opponent, Dockett, headlined by Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao. But he also achieved plenty. His 2008 loss to Antonio Margarito looms as controversial due to Margarito's subsequent suspension and the likely illegal beating Cotto took that night, halted his rise. Now, Cotto avenged his defeat in 2011 and moved up to stop a faded Sergio Martinez for the lineal middleweight title in 2014. But the menacing body puncher was never quite the same after his first loss. And he said when he avenged that loss to Margarito that was the biggest win of his career, when he got his get back against Margarito. Let's look at some of the top fighters over the past 30 years. Vitaly Klitschko. 45 wins, just 2 losses, 41 knockouts, 91.1% knockout ratio. And both his losses were fights that were stopped because he was injured, where he was ahead on all cards at the time of both those stoppages. Lennox Lewis on cuts, and I believe it was Chris Bird. He had injured his shoulder. So very well could have been 47-0. Okay. Now, the more rugged of the two Klitschko brothers, Vitaly was one of the most dominant heavyweights in boxing history. He lost 2 fights, one because of a shoulder injury against Chris Bird and cuts against Lennox Lewis. But he was winning both at the time of the stoppage. The Ukrainian protege won the other 45 fights and enjoyed a 2-title reign run alongside his brother, Vladimir, atop the division. Now, the older Klitschko barely lost a round, albeit against mostly suspect opposition. Now, were it not for injuries that induced a 4-year retirement hiatus in 2004, Vitaly might have ended up being regarded as the best heavyweight of his era. Okay, yeah, injuries made him take a 4-year hiatus from the sport. Joe Calzaghe, Mr. 46-0. 46 wins, no losses, 32 knockouts for Joe Calzaghe. King of the super middleweight division for nearly 10 years, the Welshman finished his career unbeaten at 46-0. He reigned in relative obscurity, at least in the United States, from 1998 to 2007, before outpointing Mikhail Kessler to unify the 168-pound division. Calzaghe defended his belt a division record 21 times and ended his career on an exemplary note by defeating Bernard Hopkins and a declining Roy Jones at light heavyweight in his only American appearances. The legends aside, Calzaghe's 2008 American tour represented a strong way to lead the sport of boxing. Yep, those were his final 2 fights. El Terrible, Erik Morales. El Terrible. We were just looking at some of the top fighters over the past 30 years. Erik Morales, 52 wins, 9 losses, 36 knockouts. The Mexican brawler ended up on the short end of the epic trilogy with Marco Antonio Barrera. But he is one of the generation's best wins, a 2005 decision over Manny Pacquiao. The first 4-division Mexican champion, Morales defeated Barrera in the countryman's 2000 thriller. Took a super bantamweight belt off Hall of Famer Daniel Zaragoza and defended it 9 times before winning a strap at 126, 130, and 140. El Terrible was done as an elite fighter around age 30. But he packed plenty of action into a Hall of Fame career. El Turbo. Eric Morales. Vasyl Lomachenko. 18 wins, 3 losses, 12 knockouts for Lomachenko. Now, operating at a higher skill level than many of his peers, Lomachenko is a 3-division world champion who is chosen, like Pacquiao, to campaign 1 or 2 classes above his natural weight. If he had been at 126 his whole career, he probably would have been undefeated. At his peak, Lomachenko made 4 straight opponents quit on the stool. The former 396 win and 1 loss amateur outclassed multi-division belt holders and resided as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter for multiple years. Now, Loma ran into a size issue in a 2020. He ran into a size issue in a 2020 loss to Teofimo Lopez. He had to overcome the size disadvantage every time he stepped into the ring. At lightweight, he also passed on recollecting his belts via the George Kambosos fight that Devin Haney won. Lomachenko went to his native Ukraine after the war with Russia started. Okay. Canelo Alvarez. Some of the best boxers, top boxers of the past 30 years. Currently 63 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, 39 knockouts for Canelo. Taking advantage of his status as the Western Hemisphere's top in-ring attraction, Canelo sports a spectacular record. He beat Miguel Cotto at middleweight, actually a catchweight, took Gennady Golovkin's belts, and stopped Sergey Kovalev at 175. The popular Mexican also became the first boxer to be undisputed at super middleweight in the 4-belt era. And he did some good work at 154 also. A draw scorecard for one of the 3 judges in his loss to Floyd Mayweather Jr. and the draw against Triple G shows that favorable judging has played a role in Canelo's rise. A 2022 loss to Dimitri Bivol stung, and also his latest loss last month to Terence Crawford. Both those losses stung. But the 34-year-old icon will still have his pick of opponents to pad his legacy. Canelo. Okay. Next is Alexander Usyk. Okay. Wait a minute. One moment, please. Last and first and only interruption of the day. Alexander Usyk. There's Alexander. Up there. Okay. Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk. There we go. Okay. Alexander Usyk is an undefeated Ukrainian boxer and the first undisputed heavyweight champion in the 4-belt era. Also first 4-belt undisputed champion at cruiserweight. He's 6'3" with a 78-inch reach and has held the undisputed heavyweight title since 2025. Now, Usyk's amateur career culminated in the 2012 Olympic gold medal win over Clemente Russo of Italy. He then transitioned to professional boxing, unifying the cruiserweight division before moving to heavyweight in 2019. Alexander Usyk. Usyk is currently 24-0. Okay. 24-0. Let's see. With 15 knockouts for Alexander. Okay. Let's look at some of the top boxers of the past 30 years. Trump had mentioned Usyk and Crawford, but yeah, they made. I just didn't have them on the thumbnail. That's all. But yeah, how can you do the best boxers of the past 30 years? You got to have Usyk and Crawford in there. You know, few actives in there. Next is Bud Crawford. Okay. There's Bud. Terence Crawford. Currently 42 wins, no losses, 31 by the knockout route for Bud Crawford. Okay, so if accumulated pound for pound number one honor in the post-Mayweather world could be awarded, Crawford would claim it. The 5-division champion, lightweight, junior lightweight, junior welterweight, junior middleweight, super, 5 division, right? The 5-division champion has barely been tested, dominating at lightweight, junior welterweight, and he was successful last year in his first fight at junior middleweight, winning the WBA title. But the versatile Nebraskan ran into trouble with the political divide that boxing brings. He wasn't able to get a major pay-per-view draw for a long time, nor was he aligned with the promotional stable most of the top welterweights from his period chose. Now, Sean Porter crossed over and battled Crawford, and Bud finally got the elusive Earl Spence fight, which he also dominated like he'd been doing everybody else. But though largely out of his control, Crawford's resume could dock him historically. Now, this fight a few weeks ago against Canelo won't hurt him. That was a big win there. Okay. Huge win for Bud. Okay. Some of the top boxers of the past 30 years. Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. There he is. Triple G. Gennady Golovkin. 42 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, 37 knockouts. 88% knockout ratio for Triple G. 88%. Not bad at all. Now, Triple G has made the most of a truncated time in the limelight. He spent his 20s in relative obscurity before breaking out in his HBO debut, a 5th-round knockout of Grzegorz Proksa in 2012. Triple G defended his middleweight title a record-tying 20 times. I believe he's tied with B-Hop. Record-tying 20 times. His otherworldly power, 88% career knockout ratio, dissuaded rivals from facing him at his peak. But the popular Kazakh still compiled wins over all comers, including Kell Brook and Daniel Jacobs. Waiting out his rival, Canelo capitalized on their 8-year age gap. In the view of most, Triple G should be either up 2-1 or 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw against Canelo. Not no wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. But scorecards went to the popular Mexican. How much will that disputed trilogy define Triple G's legacy? We're going to talk about that later too when we get to the what if section of the show. Next is SOG, Andre Ward. Andre Ward in the building. Everybody hit the like, subscribe, please. Thank you. Andre Ward, SOG. 32 wins, no losses, 16 knockouts. That's how he finished his career. Now, Ward's career arc makes this ranking difficult. He became a top-tier fighter after obliterating the Super 6 Super Middleweight tournament, culminating in a Carl Froch 2011 decision win. He usurped Manny Pacquiao at number 2 on some pound-for-pound list in 2012. But promotional issues caused Ward to miss the better part of 2 years, perhaps his would-be apex. Shortly after he got to number 2 on the pound-for-pound list, he took a couple years off. He was given a decision that most felt he did not deserve over Sergey Kovalev before beating the Russian in their rematch. But instead of making up for lost time, Ward abruptly retired. The Oklahoma talent left some legacy points on the table. Yep, he sure did. Retired after the second Kovalev fight. Left a lot of legacy points on the table. Salute Mike Mazik in the building. Looking at boxing over the past 30 years, Mike. Right now, we're looking at some of the top boxers over that time period, mid-90s to now. Next is Vitaly's brother, Vladimir Klitschko. Nope, that ain't Vladimir. I don't know who that is. Is it? No. That's boy. Oh boy, I don't know who that is. Is that Vladimir Klitschko? Oh. That's Felix Trinidad. Okay, yeah. Well, we missed Vladimir. Yeah, that was Felix Trinidad. And then Shane Mosley. That's Sugar Shane. Okay, let's go back. Let's okay. Vladimir Klitschko is now. We missed him. Okay, Vladimir Klitschko. 64 wins, 5 losses, 53 knockouts. 82.8% knockout ratio for Vladimir over his career. Now, the technically sound Klitschko brother held the lineal heavyweight title for almost 10 years. Now, while the division was not strong, the Ukrainian jabbing machine dominated from 2006 to 2015, okay? He responded to knockout losses to Corey Sanders and Lamont Brewster by linking up with legendary trainer Emanuel Stewart, who effectively minimized his suspect chin. Now, Vladimir was not athletically inspiring, but made 18 heavyweight title defenses, third most in heavyweight history. He enhanced his legacy exponentially in a loss to Anthony Joshua in 2017's Fight of the Year. At age 41, Vladimir showed he was not merely a product of weak competition. Yeah, had a great fight with Anthony Joshua. He just fought who was available to fight during his era. You can't do any more than that, right? Drunk Irishman says, I always felt Andre Ward was overrated. Good boxer, but the body of work isn't there for the way people rate him. They go on like he's an ATG. No, not an ATG. I agree, Drunk Irishman, yeah. And he left a lot on the table when he retired, abruptly retired like that after that second Kovalev fight, yeah. He could have, I would have thought of him more highly if he would have kept fighting and did some more damage in the ring. But yeah, that kind of like diminished him in my eyes too, Drunk Irishman, when they abruptly retired like he did. You know, he left a lot on the table. So yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I put Andre at good, but not at all-time great status. No, I don't. Personally, not at ATG. Okay. So now let's go to Felix Trinidad, talking about some top fighters over the past 30 years. Tito Trinidad, 42 wins, 3 losses, 35 knockouts, 83.3% knockout ratio for Tito. Now, Tito won a welterweight title at age 20 by first round knockout over Maurice Blocker in 1993 and defended it 15 times, right? Second most in 147-pound history over the next 7 years, right? Now, Tito defeated the likes of Fernando Vargas, David Reed, and a faded Pernell Whitaker. But his 2 biggest fights featured struggles, okay? Tito was given a disputed decision in a momentous 1999 matchup with fellow unbeaten Oscar De La Hoya. That's the one where Oscar took his foot off the gas at the end, remember? Had it won. And they say his corner told him to take his feet off the gas. And it cost him. Okay? So, yeah. But the loser provided a blueprint to beat the power punching star. Right? Oscar provided the blueprint to beat Tito. And Bernard Hopkins followed it and handily beat the favorite Trinidad for the middleweight title in 2001, ending Trinidad's time as an elite fighter. Sugar Shane Mosley. That's Sugar Shane on the left there. Sugar Shane Mosley. Yeah, he was 32 years old when he retired. Should have carried on fighting. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, Stevenson, Wadston, Bivol, better be happy. Yeah, I would have exactly 100% Drunk Irishman. If he would have fought, he just fought them, I would have thought a lot more highly. I'm not even had to beat him, just fought him. You know, that's a great point, Drunk Irishman. He could have just like won one of those fights, just fought all of those people. Would have enhanced his legacy a lot more. And beating all 4 of them, then we might be talking ATG then. But just retiring like he did, nah, I don't put him at ATG level, no. Good, yeah, but no, not ATG. But like the Drunk Irishman said, for those 4, then yeah, that would have enhanced his legacy a lot. Yeah. Right? Win, lose, or draw, just fought them. Exactly. Yep. Just fought them. But he retired. He retired. Sugar Shane Mosley is next. Now, Sugar Shane, 49 wins, 10 losses. He had 1 draw, 1 no contest, 41 knockouts, 83.6% knockout ratio. Sugar Shane had pop. Now, Mosley's career featured plenty of peaks and valleys, but the highs positioned him for a time as the world's best fighter. For a time, he was. A demon at lightweight, 8 title defenses, 8 knockouts. Mosley climbed to the sport's summit after winning a 2000 welterweight war with Oscar De La Hoya. However, the middle of Mosley's career brought tough sledding. An 0-4 combined mark versus Vernon Forrest and Winky Wright. In 2003, steroid use affect Mosley's standing among the era's greats. But so does an upset. So does an upset whitewash of Antonio Margarito in 2009 to secure a 147-pound title at age 37. An undisputed great. It's Sugar Shane. Roman Gonzalez. Yeah, Chocolatito. Roman Gonzalez. Let me see. I don't think I have his record right, but that's easy to find. Let's see what Chocolatito's record is. Yeah, I had did this like a year or so ago, this show. And all the active fighters, I had went back and got their records again, but I didn't get Chocolatito's because when the last time I did this show, the record, Bud, Canelo, Usyk, Loma, all their records had changed since then. I didn't get, let me see what Chocolatito's is now, because he's fought since then. Still fighting. Yep, Chocolatito. Roman Gonzalez. Never got him in Monster. They were in talks a few years back, but never got it. Never got it. That would have been a good one. Okay, yeah. I had 52-4. He's 53-4. Just had one fight since then. 42 knockouts. And that's good for 80.7% knockout ratio for Chocolatito. Yeah. Now taking hold of the number one pound-for-pound spot as he became an HBO-affiliated fighter in 2015, Chocolatito was well into his prime by the time viewers could see his offensive onslaughts. Chocolatito won titles in 4 divisions, minimum weight up to super flyweight, 115. Wow, he came all the way from 105. And paired with Golovkin on some all-action cards. Yeah, him and Triple G used to fight on a lot of cards together. After 2 2017 losses to Sor Rungvisai, placed Gonzalez at a crossroads. He regained a 115-pound belt and showed top form in a 2021 all-action loss to Juan Francisco Estrada. I thought he won that one. He lost the last one, but I thought he won the first 2. Clearly lost the final one. I think it was in 23, right? Yeah, most felt people Chocolatito won the rematch, but the narrow defeat against an elite adversary further elevated Chocolatito's standings. Yeah, now we're into the top 10. Top 10 now, okay? This is like the top 10 of the last 30 years, okay? Top 10 of the last 30 years. James Lights Out Tony, okay? James Lights Out Tony. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, maybe I... Come on. Stay with me for a moment. Man, I don't know what's wrong with this thing. Man, bear with me. We're gonna get Lights Out in there. Gotta get Lights Out in. We're into the top 10 now, the last 30 years. Oh, come on, man. Here we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Now let's try this again. James Tony. It's Lights Out. What's up, Lights Out? Okay, here we go. Here we go. James Nathaniel Tony competed from 1988 to 2017. That's like 30 years, right? He held multiple world championships, in 3 weight classes, including the IBF and lineal middleweight titles from 1991 to 1993, the IBF super middleweight title from 1993 to 1994, and the IBF cruiserweight title in 2003. Tony also challenged twice for world heavyweight titles in 2005 and 2006. And while he was victorious the first time, his championship was nullified. His championship was nullified due to a failed drug test that caused his initial victory to be overturned to a no contest. Overall, Tony competed in 15 world title fights across 4 weight classes, okay? And Lights Out had a total of 92 fights in his pro career. He won 77. He had 10 losses, 3 draws, 2 no contests, 47 by way of knockout. James Lights Out Tony, okay? Okay, now I done lost my place. But number 9 is Marco Antonio Barrera. Let's see. Tito was before Tony, right? I'm too far. I'm trying to get my display right. Oh, there we go. That's Barrera right there. Marco Antonio Barrera is next. Thomas Hill in the building. What's up, Thomas Hill? How are you today? Yeah, we're looking at some of the top fighters over the past 30 years today, T. Hill. Okay, we're into the top 10 now. Number 10 was James Lights Out Tony. Number 9 is Marco Antonio Barrera. A lot of people might not agree, but yeah, Marco Antonio Barrera. 67 wins, 7 losses, 1 no contest, 44 by way of knockout. Now, Barrera was known for legendary wars with Erik Morales. He was also crafty. He was a crafty technician, right? The revered Mexican won belts in 3 divisions and defended his 118-pound strap 12 times between 1995 and 2000. Barrera won 2 of the 3 fights with Morales, right? The final 2. Morales won the first one. We covered that trilogy, remember? And he deployed his technical acumen in front of a wide audience by ending Prince Nassim Ahmed's featherweight run in 2001. Ended his career also. Ahmed did have 1 fight after the Barrera fight, but that was basically after the Barrera beatdown. That was it for him. Barrera then beat smaller champions, Paulie Ayala and Johnny Tapia. Now, while 0-3 against Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez, the baby-faced assassin compiled a quality resume. Yeah, fire resume for the baby-faced assassin. Next is the legendary, excellent, great, outstanding Finito Ricardo Lopez, Mr. 51-0. 51 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 38 knockouts. And guess what else? The man never lost a fight in his life. Undefeated as an amateur also. Okay? But one man had his number. Rosendo Alvarez was the one that gave him his draw. And then Lopez beat him in the rematch, but Alvarez did win on one judge's card, so there's always somebody out there for you. Undefeated, whatever. You always got that one fight, and he had those 2 against Rosendo Alvarez that he almost lost. First one was a draw, then the next one, Alvarez actually won on one judge's card, but Ricardo got the split out of it. It is Drunk Irishman's link in there. Okay. Or link Drunk Irishman dropped in the chat there. Okay. Now, we had Finito, Ricardo Lopez. Now, he don't get a lot of love because he fought at 105 most of his career. Did fight at 108 also, but most of his work was done at 105, and a lot of people just don't go down that far, A lot of people don't even know it's a division at 105, right? A lot of people like, no grown man should weigh no 105, but hey, we got some good ones down there, okay? And got popped too. Jimmy Wald started fighting at 98 pounds, and pound for pound, Ring Magazine's pound for pound top punches, Jimmy Wald is in the top 10. Never fought over 112, over flyweight. Punching like that, okay? Now, Ricardo Lopez, the most obscure name on this list, Lopez ruled a division that does not see much stateside exposure. Yeah, a lot of Asians and Mexicans and, not a lot of Americans down that far. We got Mark Too Sharp Johnson, Michael, the guy from Arizona, Michael Carvajal, a couple, but not many. Okay. So these divisions 105 definitely don't see much visibility in the United States. Okay. A lot of these guys from Asia, Mexico, foreign countries, and that's where they do most of their fights at, right? He's champion at minimum weight, 105 pounds, and junior flyweight, 108. Lopez finished his 17-year career unbeaten, 51-0. And he avenged that one draw, a technical draw against Rosendo Alvarez in 1998. Now, Lopez was almost champion for the entire decade. I think he went to like 98. He had like a few months before 99, and he vacated his titles and moved up to junior flyweight. He would have been the only man champion for an entire decade, like Joe Louis had the 40. And Joe Louis was away for a couple years at the war. Finito would have been straight through as champion, fighting constantly the entire decade, but he didn't care about that. He moved up. Trying to be great. He did win the title at 108 when he moved up, right? He was a boxer puncher. He won a 105-pound title in 1990 and defended it 21 times. Now, small division fighters are not known for aging gracefully, but Finito dominated the 1990s and captured the junior flyweight belt at age 33, right? And defended that one twice. And then he went back. He retired at age 35, okay? And then we got Juan Manuel Marquez. We're not say too much about. We talked about Juan Manuel a lot yesterday. 56 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw, 40 knockouts. And Juan Manuel was avoided in his younger years. He made his 30s count. After winning his first title at age 31, Marquez snared belts in 3 more divisions, as high as welterweight. He defeated the likes of Marco Antonio Barrera and Juan Diaz, okay? But also lost to non-Hall of Famers, Chris John and Freddie Norwood, 2 good fighters. Probably should be in there, especially Chris John. Probably should be in the Hall of Fame. And guess what? One of my fighters that I always griping about not making it, made it this year. Michael Nunn is in the 2025 class. Remember, I was griping about him and Esteban de Jesus. They still didn't put Esteban in, but Michael Nunn got in. And I felt they was holding him up because of his out-of-the-ring activity when he was selling drugs and did 15 years in prison. But they put him in this year. So now we got to get Esteban de Jesus in there. Michael Nunn is officially in there now. So I can stop crying over one of my guys. Still ain't got Esteban in there yet. The Marquez's legacy centers on his legacy centers on his 4 Manny Pacquiao fight. Now he went 1 win, 2 losses, 1 draw in the series. A judging error boosted Marquez to a draw in 2004, but he came close to beating his rival in 2008 and 2011. even as Marquez's 2012 knockout win came when he unveiled an improved physique at age 39, he pushed the Filipino sensation harder than anyone. Wow, and he was 39 at that time. Yeah, because Juan Manuel didn't win he was in his 30s when he won his first title, remember? Lennox Lewis. Okay, winding this down. This is number 6. Winding down to number 1. Number 6, Lennox Lewis, okay? 41 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, 32 knockouts. Yeah, Lennox, I think what hurt his legacy, when he had that fight against Vitaly Klitschko, he was losing. And he got the win because Vitaly couldn't continue on cuts. When Vitaly was winning on every card, that fight had rematch written all over it, but Lennox retired. So that kind of hurt his legacy with me, anyway. Like, as if that matters. But yeah, that kind of hurts it with me, man. I thought he should have gave Vitaly that rematch. You know, 78% knockout ratio. You were clearly losing the fight. All 3 judges had it for Vitaly. He lost on cuts, and then you retired. And it wasn't all that old. So no, I didn't agree with that at all. Okay. Yeah, look, Iverson says Barrera was a beast on my Mount Rushmore for Mexican boxers. Yeah, Olivares, Chavez, Barrera, Canelo. Yeah, Olivares. Yeah, we talked about him yesterday, Drunk Irishman. You said a big name there, Ruben Olivares. I think Olivares is actually underrated. Yeah, Ruben. Definitely up there. Top 5 Mexican fighters. But a lot of people talking about the top Mexicans, they never mention Ruben Olivares. Yeah. Always felt bad for Marquez. Was always in the shadow of Barrera and Morales. Yeah. Pain. Sure was. Never got his fair credit later in his career. Yeah. Yeah. Then with his first title until he was in his 30s. But Lennox Lewis, okay? Lennox. Not an awe-inspiring heavyweight. The Brit nonetheless beat every fighter he ever faced, avenged both his losses. He didn't avenge that Vitaly Klitschko loss. He got the win, but he was losing on all 3 judges' scorecards. I would have wanted the rematch if I was Lennox, because that's talked about. That's notable. That's a very notable fight. And plus his last one, he retired. Now, he tried to say after the fight that he had planned that to be his last fight, but I don't remember him saying that was his last fight before the fight. Maybe he did, but I don't remember that. Now, although his first fight losses to Oliver McCall and Sim Rockman make Lewis steady and curious. He proved superior to Evander Holyfield, once in a laughably bad draw decision, and again in a victory rematch, beating Evander in the rematch, before battering a washed-up Mike Tyson. Riddick Bowe ducked Lewis in the early 1990s. Can't say nothing else. He ducked him. And Lennox trudged on as WBC champion much of the decade. The Lennox caught his top rivals at convenient time, but with an elite jab and an imposing frame, and Emmanuel Stewart as his trainer, he would have given them big trouble at their peaks. Yes, I believe he would have. I don't know if he could have ever beat Riddick Bowe. I don't know why Bowe didn't want to fight him. I think he could have beat Lennox, but I don't know what the story was on that belt in the trash can. Oscar, number 5, Oscar De La Hoya. Okay. And yeah, there's something else I was thinking, but I forgot. It was about Lennox. Oh yeah, the draw of Holyfield, that was ridiculous, man. That lady, I think it was Eugenia Williams or Adelaide Berg, one of those ladies. They both were terrible. I think it was Eugenia Williams. One round, I think Lennox landed like 30 and 40 punches. Holyfield landed, and go back, it's in the history. Holyfield landed like single digits, and she gave the round to Holyfield. Terrible, man. Clearly a fixed fight. Clearly paid off. Comfort box is not nothing computerized. It's people hitting buttons. But that big of a disparity, got to be something to that. 30 to 40 punches to single digits, and you're going to give the one with the single digits the round? Wow. Clearly didn't know what she was doing. Oscar was 39 wins, 6 losses, 30 knockouts in his career. Oscar. The Golden Boy. Got that golden medal for his mother. 76.9% knockout ratio for Oscar. Now, Oscar against one of the strongest resumes in boxing history. The Golden Boy became one of the most popular fighters ever, right? He was the sports top draw between the Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather eras. Yeah, it was Oscar. Between Mike Tyson and Floyd, Oscar was the man. Oscar won titles in 6 divisions, second all time to Manny Pacquiao, from junior lightweight to middleweight. He beat Julio Cesar Chavez, Pernell Whitaker, Fernando Vargas, and yo-yoed in weight to fight Floyd Mayweather Jr., Manny Pacquiao, and Bernard Hopkins. Oscar's resume would look even better were it not for disputed decision losses to Felix Trinidad in 1999, whom he outlanded by 97 punches, and the Shane Mosley rematch in 2003, who he outlanded by, get this, 94 punches. Wow. Okay, so, yeah. And then in 96, when Oscar won Fighter of the Year, he could have fought like 2 lower level opponents, 2 top 10, or 1 top 10, 3 lower level. Oscar fought 4 top 10 opponents that year, beat all of them. Oscar wanted all the smoke, won Fighter of the Year. Yeah. 4 top 10 ranked opponents in 1 year. Who does that? Now, nobody. The Golden Boy. Okay, Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. Here's Roy. 66 wins, 10 losses, 47 knockouts for Roy. Now, athletically, no one on this list matches Roy Jones Jr. Untouchable at his peak, Jones conquered the middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight divisions. And he had a title at heavyweight too, remember? He beat Bernard Hopkins, took apart James Toney, and eviscerated lesser known men. En route to winning Fighter of the Year for the Fighter of the Decade for the 1990s, right? Fighter of the Decade. Jones became the first former middleweight champion to win heavyweight belts in 106 years. Bob Fitzsimmons was the other one in like 1897. Yeah. And Roy repeated that feat 106 years later when he beat John Ruiz in 2003. Yeah, 1897 was in Bob Fitzsimmons. 1897 to 2003, carry the 1, multiply the 2 by 6. Curry, 1/2 for 8. Yeah, 106 years. 1897 to 2003. Right? Okay, yeah. Roy was the first one to do that since Bob Fitzsimmons in 1897. But he fell from grace fast. Losing the Antonio Tarver trilogy and being knocked out by Glenn Johnson, Roy never recovered his peak, and it was awesome, but his resume lacks the pop of the top 3 on this list. And number 3 is B-Hop, Bernard Hopkins. Yep, Bernard Hopkins, the oldest man to ever win a championship in any division. 55 losses, 55 wins, 8 losses, 2 draws, 2 no contests, 32 knockouts for B-Hop. Now, Hopkins' executioner moniker didn't fit nearly as well as his 2010s, the Alien Alias, did. He beat Phyllis Trinidad and Oscar De La Hoya past his 36th birthday. Defeated Antonio Tarver, Winky Wright, and Kelly Pavlik past age 40. And held 2 light heavyweight belts at age 49. Okay, incredible. Broke his own record twice as the oldest man. Broke George Foreman's at 40 when Foreman was 45. B-Hop was 48, 47. Then he broke that again at 48. Then he broke that again at 49. Okay. He shattered George Foreman's record as the oldest man to ever win a title. He was Father Time's toughest sports adversary with Bernard Hopkins. Him and Father Time battled. You ask Father Time who his toughest opponent was, he'll say Bernard Hopkins, okay? Father Time finally got him, but that was Father Time's toughest opponent was Bernard Hopkins. He held major titles 19 years apart. And he also made a record, 20 straight middleweight title defenses, tied with Triple G, remember? And he lost his 4 belts by a debated 2005 decision to Jermaine Taylor. Hopkins did not possess Roy Jones's raw talent, but was a master craftsman and boasts a wildly unique resume. B-Hop. Okay, number 2 over the last 30 years, Manny Pacquiao. 62 wins. Well, that didn't change. Well, no, 62 wins, 8 losses, 3 draws. Because he had 2 draws. Now he had that one with Barrios, 3 draws, 39 knockouts. Was a Pac-Man. Now, Manny lost to Floyd, but his pound-for-pound case is just as good. Pac-Man beat legends at close to their apexes. Juan Manuel Marquez, Marco Antonio Barrera, and Eric Morales. He beat more top welterweights than Floyd did. And is not only boxing's lone 8th division champion, but it's only 7th. His boxing's only 8th division champion. I don't know what that word is. His boxing's only 8th division champion, okay? And he gave Keith Thurman his first loss when Maggie Manning was 40 years old when he did that, right? He collected belts from flyweight, 112 pounds, all the way to junior middleweight, 154 pounds. That will probably never happen again. Now, Tommy Hearns actually went up more weight, less divisions, because Manny was going to weight classes that was like 3 pounds apart, a few of them. Hearns was going through wider weight divisions. So Hearns actually went up more pounds. Manny went up like 40-something. Hearns went up like 50-something, but Manny got more divisions. I think Hearns is like a 5-division champion. Yeah. Pacquiao's 2009 wipeout of Miguel Cotto was perhaps the modern era's zenith. It had Maypac occurred in 2010 rather than 2015. It's a fair, obvious question to ask. Would the outcome have been different? Yeah, good question. I would have still picked Floyd, but a much better fight. And number 1 is Floyd, just because he won the fight between them. Okay, go with Floyd. 50-0, 27 knockout. Undoubtedly boxing's financial kingpin, Floyd possessed generational gifts and was an all-time great defender. He beat just about every notable foe in his era and was not seriously threatened by most. His risk management was notorious, however. After Pretty Boy Floyd proved historically dynamic in the 1990s and early 2000s, money didn't always step into the ring with adversaries at their best. Fighting top rivals Manny Pacquiao, but you can't blame on both sides for that one, though. Manny and others when it suited him. But Floyd faced 23 fighters who were world champions when he fought them. And that's the record throughout boxing history. Floyd's legacy is set, Mr. 50-0. Okay, let's get some link time now. It's 3:30. I had some what if this or that would have happened. Like the biggest what if was, like I just said, what if Floyd and Manny would have fought at 2010, 11-ish, somewhere around in there. You know, that's the biggest what if in boxing history. But you know, it didn't happen. So you know, you was crying over spilled milk, right? But there's blame on both sides. You can't just say it was Floyd's fault, you know. But they did eventually fight. I believe the result would have been the same, but I think it would have been a better fight back then, you know. But, you know, possibly a split decision. It happens 5-6 years earlier. 2010, I thought, was the ideal time for that one. For Floyd and Manny. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah, 2010. Or 11. You know. Around in that time frame, though. No later than that. But we can't get everything. We getting Devin and Brian Norman next month. I got Devin. So put the link in, come up and talk about it. Who y'all got? We got 30 minutes. It'll probably be like 2 more hours. You know, we get the cooking on the link, man, and time just goes by, you know. But yeah, there it is. I had some what ifs too, though. We're gonna get a minute. I can go over. Here's my tablet. Way over there. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I'm gonna start talking about these what ifs. What if this would have happened? What if that would have happened? Man, it get on my nerves, man. It should be ready. It is right there. This is the 10 biggest what ifs. Taking forever. Where were we? Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah, we're in the right place. Floyd. The 10 biggest what ifs of the last 30 years. Mayweather versus Pacquiao in 2011 leads the way. Okay? The 10 biggest what ifs of the past 30 years. Let's talk about that. What if Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao had fought in 2010? Or 2011, okay, instead of 2015. What would have happened? Oh my goodness. Okay. I made it back safe. Yeah, what if they would have fought in 2010 or 2011 instead of 2015? What would happen? Catch y'all at. Let's talk about it. Now, the biggest super fight of the 21st century gave us a meeting between the two best fighters of their weight class, era, and pound for pound ranking at the time in 2015. Okay? Now, the problem, however, was that Mayweather was 38 and Pacquiao was 36 by that time. Their 5-year soap opera finally came to an end, right? Mayweather was 38, Pacquiao was 36 by then. Okay? The fact that the welterweight stars turned in a tentative technical fight instead of the go for broke classic many fans had expected left many wondering how different it would have looked when both were in their primes, right? Now, by 2011, Pacquiao had announced himself as a legitimate welterweight force with almost otherworldly speed and explosion from awkward angles. But let's give Mayweather the respect he deserves as one of the greatest defensive strategists in boxing history and assume he wouldn't get steamrolled, okay? Now, Floyd's unbeaten career was defined by the championship adjustments he made each fight after taking an early snapshot of his opponent's style. The true question remains whether Floyd would be able to adjust with enough time to pull out a clear decision. While Juan Manuel Marquez laid out a blueprint on how to time Pacquiao's bursts with hard counter shots, Floyd was rarely one to punch with his opponent and trade. He would need to find ways to get off first and discipline Manny, similarly to what he expertly did with lead right hands, both early and late, when they finally did meet. Suffice to say, fans would be looking at a contested split decision as the two fought at the peak of their powers. And given his history of great defense, nullifying great offense, the money is still on Floyd. Okay, now, the next one. Yeah, the money was still on, my money would have still been on Floyd in 4 or 5 years earlier, okay? Now, speaking of Floyd, what if Floyd had fought everyone his critics had wanted him to fight? Although it remains hard to poke at the totality of Floyd's incredible resume, a segment still exists of those who take issue with the timing of each fight. In addition to waiting 5 years to face Manny, although blame can be shared on both sides, now, can't put it all on Floyd. Blame can be shared on both sides, okay? Floyd fought just 3 times over a 4-year run of his physical prime from 2008 to 2011 and largely avoided the gauntlet of a loaded welterweight division. Although it was early in his rise toward becoming the biggest pay-per-view star in combat sports history, Floyd had already amassed the type of control over his matchmaking and, more important, wait for a minute. Okay, I'm back. Now, where was I? Talking about his matchmaking. Oh yeah, he had already mastered the type of control over his matchmaking, and more importantly, the terms of said fights that only Sugar Ray Leonard had known, right? Floyd also timed retirement, which allowed him a chance to build his star commercially through such avenues as WrestleMania and Dancing with the Stars, while resting his chronically injured hand. So that was kind of smart right there. So what would have happened had he instead faced the likes of Miguel Cotto, Antonio Margarita, a younger Shane Mosley, Paul Williams, and Prime Pacquiao at 147 pounds? First off, Floyd likely wouldn't have been able to enjoy the incredible longevity he showed late in his 30s by taking on such dangerous fights in succession. Yes, it's easy to imagine Floyd beating each one on the list, right? Although the idea of him handling Williams' length and volume remains an all-time unknown. But preserving his pristine record by doing so in such a short window of time remains highly unlikely. Now, Floyd had a strategic method to his madness, and that is hard not to respect what he accomplished, no matter how he did it. You gotta respect it, okay? Don't knock the hustle. He had a strategic madness to his method to his madness, right? And he got it done. Money. Okay, the next one is the next what if. What if history had been kinder to Triple G? What if history had been kinder to Triple G? Let's see. Oh. What if history had been kinder to Triple G? We're gonna get started in a minute. Okay, here we go. Nope, that's not it. Biggest wetters of the last 30 years in boxing. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to talk about what if history had been kinder to Triple G. That's next. Okay, yeah. There's Triple G. Yeah, what if history would have been kinder to Triple G? The Canelo situation and everything, you know. What would that have been like? Now, whether or not he faces Canelo, let's go past that. Yeah, okay, what if Riddick Bowe hadn't thrown the WBC heavyweight title in the trash in 1992 to avoid Lennox Lewis? That's more interesting. What if Riddick Bowe hadn't had to thrown the WBC belt in the trash? And okay, let's see. Irishman says, Mayweather beat the guys who beat Margarito like Mosley, Cotto, Pacquiao. However, Styles make fights. Margarito would give Floyd problems. Do I think he beat Floyd? I don't know. But their reach would be yeah. You think about Paul Williams, that would have been when the one drunk Irishman problem would be a problem. Everyone talking about Triple G in the Hall of Fame. Should he get in or not? I don't know. I think so. Yeah. He had 20 straight. He got tied the record for the defenses at middleweight, 20 straight. That should get him in. Yeah. That's significant. I think he should get in. Drunk Irishman, yeah. If I had a vote, I would vote Triple G in. Mm-hmm. Yes, I would. I would vote him in. Let's do this one and then that's it. What if Riddick Bowe hadn't thrown his WBC heavyweight title in the trash in 1992 to avoid Lennox Lewis? Now, for as much as this has remained a fun topic to discuss over the past 3 decades, it's hard not to ignore the fact that we might already know the answer. Lewis, who represented Canada, scored a knockout of Bowe in the gold medal match of the super heavyweight division at the 1988 Olympics. Now, given Bowe's not so secret disdain for conditioning, it's not a stretch to imagine his team was strategic in keeping him away from Lewis in order to help Bowe maximize his financial window. Fresh off a breakthrough title win over Evander Holyfield in their first of 3 meetings, Bowe went on to easy title defenses for big money over Michael Dokes and Jesse Ferguson in 1993 after dumping his WBC title to avoid his mandatory opponent, which was Lennox Lewis. And not long after that, the wheels slowly began to fall off for Bowe, who would split his next 2 fights with Holyfield, but end up effectively washed up by age 27 amid wild fluctuations in weight. Now, I think that hadn't it been for that Fan Man situation, I think Bowe would have won that fight too. Yeah, I think Fan Man caused Bowe to lose that second fight because his wife was pregnant and she was in the audience, and Bowe saw her being carried out of there after that Fan Man. His wife fainted. I wouldn't even have continued to fight. I would have went with my pregnant wife. But Bowe continued to fight, ended up losing, you know. WBA Reggie Belts don't count. 15 defenses. Okay, Drunk Irishman. Yeah, Bowe beat 91-93 beats Lewis. Okay, now that's what I was saying earlier. When I was talking about he ducked Lewis, I don't even know what I was thinking that Bowe around that time could beat Lewis. Especially the Bowe from the first Holyfield fight. Yeah, I don't think he would have a hard time with Lennox Lewis. No, I really don't. Now, for everything Bowe brought to the table as a 6'5" puncher with a strong chin and the ability to box at close range, Lewis was just as good or better in almost every category, save for his flash chin, and it held a key psychological edge for having previously stopped him. And Bowe had Eddie Futch then too, you know. Eddie Futch left Bowe when he saw Bowe wasn't serious about training. But Eddie Futch had Larry Holmes, Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, Trevor Berbick, and Eddie Futch said Bowe was the best heavyweight he trained. I mean, again, he had Larry Holmes, Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, and Eddie Futch said Riddick Bowe was the best heavyweight he ever trained. But he saw Riddick Bowe wasn't serious, and he left him. You know, we both kept having all those wild fluctuations in weight in between fights, going up over 300 and all that. He was a big guy, but you know, you're a boxer. You can't be doing that. Got to keep that optimal weight, you know. So when you come into camp, you don't have to have no weight camp. Just the regular, you know, process of training will get you down to weight where you belong at, right? But Drunk Irishman, early 90s. I would have been my money would have been on Bowe too, you know? I don't know why he didn't take that fight. I really don't understand that. I think he would have won it. I don't even think it would have been that difficult of a fight for him. Nope, I really don't. But okay. Oh yeah, tomorrow we're gonna stay on the last 30 years and we're gonna talk about some of the top fights from the last 30 years tomorrow, okay? So tomorrow we're going to stay on the last 30 years in boxing. But tomorrow we're going to talk about some of the top fights over the last 30 years, okay? So tune in for that. We'll be here at 2. Thomas Hill, Mike Mazik, Ernie Boxing, BBO Sports TV, The Drunk Irishman, BN Boxing News, Mike Grimm, Trump, and Miss Cass. Appreciate everybody for stopping through today. We're going to stay on the last 30 years of boxing tomorrow. We're going to look at some of the top fights over the last 30 years. Got a whole tractor trailer full of them. So if you like talking about old fights and stuff, that's what we're going to do tomorrow. Not that old, over the last 30 years. But yeah, and some of the best fights and some other things. Okay? But I appreciate everybody. Just Do Boxing is up next. And we'll be back tomorrow. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Appreciate everybody. Have a great afternoon. Appreciate your Drunk Irishman 1000%. And Trump is Trump.